At my daughter's wedding, her rude groom pushed me in the chest, shouting to the whole hall, "You disgusting old man! You shouldn't have come here!" My daughter stood nearby, silently staring at the floor, as if I were a stranger. My heart ached from the betrayal. But 5 minutes later, his face turned pale as chalk. The truth about me hit him harder than any blow. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The Phoenix heat still clung to my skin when I pushed through the front door. 62 years old, and supplier negotiations still drained me like they had when I was 30. I'd spent 8 hours convincing Martinez Imports to hold their prices another quarter. My shoulders ached. My temples throbbed. Jessica stood in the hallway, practically vibrating. "Dad!" Her hands twisted together, that nervous energy she'd had since childhood. "I have news. Big news." I set my briefcase down slowly. Her eyes were too bright, her smile too wide. Warning bells, faint but persistent. "Trevor proposed." The words tumbled out. "We're engaged." My face did what faces do in these moments. Arranged itself into something approximating joy while my brain calculated timelines. 4 months. They'd been dating 4 months. I'd bought cars after longer consideration. "That's wonderful, sweetheart." The lie tasted metallic. "When did this happen?" "This afternoon. Look." She thrust her hand forward. The diamond caught the light, small and tasteful. Too modest for a financial consultant making the kind of money Trevor claimed. "It's beautiful." I touched her shoulder, buying time. 4 months, though, Jessica. That's... "I know him, Dad." Her tone sharpened, defensive. "He's successful, ambitious. We're having dinner tomorrow night, so you can meet him properly. You'll see." Properly. As if the 3 times I'd encountered him, brief, calculated appearances constituted actual meetings. Each time, Trevor had been professionally charming, maddeningly vague about his work, and suspiciously quick to leave. "What exactly does he do?" I kept my voice neutral. "Financial consulting covers a lot of territory. He works with investments, high-level clients." She crossed her arms. "Why does it matter?" "Because you matter." I met her eyes. "I want to meet the real him." She left 20 minutes later, still radiating that brittle excitement. I stood at the door, watching her taillights disappear, then turned to the laptop. Trevor Parker's Instagram loaded in seconds. The photos told a story my gut already knew. Yacht decks, designer watches, restaurant interiors that cost more per meal than most people's weekly groceries. Every caption maddeningly vague. Living the dream. Success is a mindset. Trust the process. Nothing about work, nothing concrete, just borrowed scenery and expensive props. I scrolled further. A BMW gleamed in one shot, Trevor leaning against it with that practiced casualness rich kids perfect by 25. The caption, "New ride," not "my new ride," just "new ride." Rental, my instincts whispered, or borrowed, or leased on credit he couldn't sustain. My phone buzzed. "Jessica, what time tomorrow?" 7. I typed slowly, choosing words carefully. "Perfect. Small favor. Don't mention my dealerships. Tell Trevor I'm a retired mechanic." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "What? Why would I?" "Humor your old man," I wrote back. "I want to see how he treats ordinary people." "That's weird, Dad. If it makes you happy," I added. Weak manipulation, but necessary. "Fine. Whatever." 7 p.m. I set the phone down and walked to the mantel. My late wife smiled from the silver frame, forever 48, forever sharp-eyed and certain. Margaret had built our first dealership from a struggling used car lot into something that mattered. She'd read people the way mechanics read engine sounds, instantly, accurately. "What would you do?" I asked the photograph. Stupid question. I knew what she'd do. She'd trust her instincts, dig deeper, protect what mattered. The house settled around me, creaking in that way old houses do. Not that old, really. 15 years since we'd built it. But it felt ancient tonight, full of decisions that needed making. I returned to the laptop. Trevor's Facebook was more polished, more curated. Networking events, charity galas, always in the background of group shots. Never the focus. Always well-dressed, never quite belonging. LinkedIn showed independent financial consultant, with no firm listed, no credentials visible, no recommendations from clients. Just a profile photo and that same practiced smile. My chest tightened. Jessica was smart, law degree, good job at Morrison and Associates, but smart people make stupid choices when loneliness gets loud enough. Her mother's death had carved something hollow inside her. Trevor had apparently found that hollow space and moved in. The clock showed 11:30. I closed the laptop and sat in darkness, letting my eyes adjust. Street lights filtered through the curtains, painting everything amber and uncertain. Tomorrow, I'd shake Trevor's hand in this modest house, not the mansion in Paradise Valley where I actually lived. Tomorrow, I'd serve dinner on mismatched plates and pretend I worried about fixed incomes. Tomorrow, I'd watch him closely. And tomorrow night, I'd know whether my instincts were paranoia or protection. I stood, joints protesting. The photograph caught my eye again. Margaret's smile held no answers, but her eyes held everything. That fierce certainty that family came first, that loyalty meant action, that love required vigilance. "I'll handle it," I told her. Then to myself, time to find out who Trevor Parker really is. The next evening arrived faster than I wanted. I'd spent the day at the dealership distracted, running Trevor's social media profiles through my mind like inventory reports that didn't add up. Numbers lied sometimes. Behavior never did. I set the dining table myself, mismatched chairs, department store placemats, the everyday dishes Margaret and I had used before success found us. Every detail mattered tonight. This wasn't dinner. This was reconnaissance. 6:45. The distinctive purr of a BMW engine filtered through the windows. I moved to the curtain, staying back in shadow. Trevor unfolded from the driver's seat, all pressed confidence and calculated ease. Designer suit, probably Italian. Shoes that cost more than my fictional mechanic's salary for a month. He paused at the car door, checking his reflection in the tinted window, adjusting his collar. Peacock behavior. My salesman did it before big pitches. That last-second armor check. The doorbell chimed. I counted to 5 before opening it. "Mr. Harris." Trevor's handshake crushed, his smile dazzling and empty. "Great to finally do this properly." "Come in." I stepped aside. "Jessica's running a few minutes late. Traffic from the office." His eyes swept the living room immediately. I watched him catalog and dismiss. The worn sofa, the outdated television, the carpet that needed replacing. His expression didn't change, but something in his shoulders relaxed. Relief, maybe, or confirmation of whatever assumptions he'd made. "Cozy place," he said, touching the back of a chair with one finger. "Very simple. Jessica mentioned you worked on cars?" "Owned a repair shop. Retired now." I moved toward the kitchen. "Can I get you something to drink? Beer? Water?" "Water's fine." He followed me, still scanning. "So, mechanic work. Honest living." The way he said honest made it sound like honest failure. "Paid the bills," I replied. "And you're in finance?" "Investment consulting." He waved one hand dismissively. "High net worth clients. Different world from this. This. My home. My life." Dismissed in one word. Jessica arrived at 7:03, breathless with apologies. Trevor's demeanor shifted immediately. Softer smile, gentler tone. Performance art. She kissed his cheek, squeezed my arm, and the three of us sat down to salmon I'd deliberately overcooked. "So, Trevor," I passed the rice, "which firm do you consult for?" "Independent." His jaw tightened slightly. "I work with select clients. You wouldn't know the names. Try me." "Dad," Jessica's voice carried a warning. "Trevor handles major portfolios. Really sophisticated stuff." "I'm sure he does." I kept my eyes on Trevor, just curious about the details. Always interesting hearing about different careers. Trevor cut his salmon with unnecessary force. "Private clients value discretion. I can't discuss specifics." Convenient answer, the kind people give when specifics don't exist. We ate in strained silence. Trevor checked his phone twice, once at 7:15, once at 7:30. Each time, that quick glance followed by the forced return to conversation, waiting for something, or avoiding something. "We're looking at properties," Jessica said, filling the quiet. "North Scottsdale area." "Beautiful neighborhood." I sipped water. "Expensive neighborhood." "$500,000 range." Trevor leaned back, confident again. "Of course, starting out. We'll need some family support. Down payment assistance, maybe covering some initial costs while we establish ourselves." There it was, the ask, not even subtle. Starting a marriage with debt is risky, I said carefully. What's your financial position? Trevor's fork clattered against his plate. That's not your business, old man. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Jessica froze mid-reach for the water pitcher. Excuse me? I kept my voice level. You heard me. Trevor's face hardened. Jessica and I have it handled. You just stay out of adult conversations. I'm her father. Her future is my business. Trevor stood up, chair scraping wood. Know what your business is? Staying in your lane. We don't need advice from someone who spent his life with grease under his fingernails. The words hung there, ugly and naked. I looked at Jessica, waiting for her to speak, to defend me, to show some spark of the woman her mother raised. She stared at her plate. Trevor, that's... she started weakly. What? I'm being honest. He grabbed his jacket from the chair. Your dad needs to understand his place. Still, Jessica said nothing, just sat there, fork trembling slightly in her hand. I stood slowly. I understand everything I need to. Trevor left without another word. The BMW engine roared to life, too loud for the quiet street. Taillights flared, then vanished. Jessica rose silently and disappeared into her old bedroom. No good night, no apology, nothing. I stood at the window in darkness, not bothering with lights. The house felt different now, clearer. Trevor had shown me exactly who he was. The borrowed luxury, the vague career, the immediate financial expectations, the contempt for honest work. My daughter's silence had shown me something worse. Margaret's voice echoed in memory. Trust your gut. Numbers lie sometimes, but behavior never does. Trevor's behavior screamed truth. So did Jessica's acceptance of it. My phone sat on the dining table. Screen dark. One search. That's all it would take. Private investigators, Phoenix area. Background checks. Financial records. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Tonight. I picked up the phone. Typed slowly. Private investigators, Phoenix. 3 options appeared. One had a 24-hour number. Justice isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be thorough. I dialed. 2 days after that dinner, I sat across from James Clark in his cramped office downtown. The private investigator came recommended by my business attorney. No connections to my personal life. No questions about why a retired mechanic needed deep background checks. Clark's office smelled like old coffee and patience. Gray filing cabinets lined one wall, certificates on another. He clicked his pen twice, watching me with eyes that had seen worse stories than mine. I need everything, I said, sliding a check across his desk. Financial records, employment verification, background, everything legal you can find. He glanced at the amount. $5,000. Didn't blink. Looking for something specific? The truth. I met his stare. However ugly it is. Usually is. He pocketed the check. 2 weeks, maybe 3. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. I returned to my routine, running the dealerships, reviewing quarterly projections, negotiating with suppliers. Normal life, except nothing was normal. Every email notification made my pulse spike. Every phone call could be Clark with answers. Jessica texted daily about wedding plans. Venue deposit paid. Caterer selected. Dress alterations scheduled. Each message a countdown to disaster I couldn't prevent. Sunday dinners became mandatory. Jessica insisted on maintaining tradition, bringing Trevor to the modest house I'd turned into a stage set. His comfort grew with each visit, arrogance blooming like mold in darkness. After we're married, Trevor announced over pot roast, voice carrying that casual cruelty I'd come to recognize, we should really upgrade your situation. This place is depressing. Jessica shifted in her chair. Trevor, don't... What? I'm thinking of family. He gestured broadly, nearly knocking over his water glass. Maybe we can help him find a nicer apartment. Senior community or something. Activities. Other people his age. I cut my meat with deliberate precision. I'm comfortable where I am. Comfortable isn't the same as adequate. Trevor's smile held no warmth. You deserve better than this. Better than this. My 3,200 square foot rental that cost less than his overdue rent. The irony would have been funny if my daughter wasn't sitting there nodding along. The email arrived on a Wednesday. Encrypted. Password protected. I waited until everyone left the dealership before opening it in my private office. Clark's report ran 47 pages. I read it 3 times. Credit card debt, $47,000 across 6 cards. Minimum payments missed for 3 months. Rent, $3,200 monthly. 4 months overdue, eviction notice filed. Employment, Parker Financial Consulting, 2-person operation. Trevor and Mark Sullivan. Revenue last year, $31,000 combined. Trevor's share, approximately $12,000. Vehicle, BMW leased, payment 60 days behind. Then came the screenshots. Text messages between Trevor and Mark, obtained through methods I didn't ask about and didn't want to know. Trevor, locked it down. Wedding in 6 weeks. Mark, the old man suspect anything? Trevor, please, he's a broke mechanic. Just grateful someone wants his daughter. Mark, what's the plan after? Trevor, milk him for whatever small savings he has. Move her into my place. Split expenses. Her job covers rent. I'm thinking I can get 20 or 30K out of him over the first year. Medical emergency or some play like that. Mark, cold man. Trevor, it's called strategy. She's the golden ticket to stable life. Stop being emotional about it. I highlighted those words with red pen. Golden ticket. Milk the old man. Strategy. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected rage, but what I felt was colder, cleaner. This was evidence, documentation, proof that my instincts weren't paranoia, but protection. I printed everything, slid the pages into a manila envelope, drove to Jessica's apartment without calling first. She answered the door in yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, face scrubbed clean of makeup. For a moment she looked like she had at 17. Young, uncertain, reachable. Dad? What are you? You need to see this. I held up the envelope. Before it's too late. Her expression hardened instantly. Too late for what? For you to control my life? Jessica, please. Just look at the evidence. Evidence? She laughed, sharp and bitter. You hired someone to spy on Trevor? That's not love, Dad. That's invasion of privacy. I pushed past her into the small entryway, dumping the contents onto her entry table. Bank statements, credit reports, screenshots of those messages. He's $47,000 in debt, I said, keeping my voice level. His rent is 3 months overdue. Look at these texts. He calls you his golden ticket. Says he's going to milk the old man for everything. Stop it! She swept the papers off the table. They scattered across hardwood, intimate truths spread like trash. Trevor loves me. He doesn't care about money, yours or anyone's, which is good because you don't have any anyway. You're a retired mechanic living in a tiny house. The accusation landed wrong. She thought she was defending love. She didn't understand she was explaining exactly why Trevor wanted her. Stable income, low expectations. Easy target. Jessica, no, her voice cracked. You can't accept that someone actually wants me for me. You've been alone so long you've forgotten what love looks like. I knelt slowly, gathering the scattered papers, each page a truth she refused to see. I know exactly what love looks like, and this isn't it. Get out. She pointed toward the door, hand trembling. If you can't be happy for me, don't come to the wedding. I stood, papers clutched against my chest. You know I'll be there. Then come and keep your mouth shut. I sat in my car outside her building until the evidence stopped shaking in my hands. Not from fear. From the effort of not shaking her until she saw reason. But reason doesn't work on people in love. I'd learned that 30 years ago when everyone told me marrying young was foolish. Margaret and I proved them wrong through decades of partnership. Jessica wasn't getting that kind of partnership. She was getting the parasite wrapped in charm. The text messages burned in my memory. Golden ticket. Milk the old man. Trevor had written those words, laughed about them with his friend, reduced my daughter to a financial opportunity. Words wouldn't save her. Evidence wouldn't save her. She'd chosen her reality, and I couldn't talk her out of it. But I could prepare. The wedding was 5 weeks away. Trevor thought he was marrying into poverty, a mechanic's daughter with maybe a small inheritance someday. Let him keep thinking that. Let him play his role, while I played mine and planned what came after. 5 weeks crawled past. I wrote the check for $35,000. The wedding Jessica wanted, modest by some standards, but everything to her. Trevor pushed for bigger venues, more elaborate catering. Jessica held firm. My dad's paying, she'd told him during one tense phone call I overheard. We're keeping it reasonable. I wondered if he'd been disappointed by the amount. Probably. Not enough for his taste, but he'd take what he could get. He always did. The morning of the wedding, I dressed in my best suit, Italian wool, tailored, the one I wore to Chamber of Commerce dinners. Then I drove to the rental house and changed into the cheaper version I kept there. The costume had to stay consistent through the final act. Late March sunshine warmed the Scottsdale venue when I arrived. Medium-sized ballroom, capacity for 150, though Jessica had invited 120. Nice but not extravagant. White chair covers, pastel flowers, exactly what she'd dreamed about since childhood. Trevor's friends clustered near the bar, eyeing the room with barely hidden disappointment. I catalogued their faces. Younger, flashier, phones out, already bored. Mr. Harris? A coordinator appeared at my elbow. Jessica's asking for you. Bridal suite, second floor. My daughter stood before a full-length mirror, hands pressed flat against her stomach. The dress was simple, elegant, exactly right. Margaret would have loved it. You look beautiful. I touched her shoulder gently. Your mother would be proud. She met my eyes in the reflection. Are you going to behave today? Behave? As if I were the problem child. I'm here, I said carefully. That's what matters. It only matters if you can be happy for me. I adjusted her veil, fingers remembering when she was 5, and I'd braided her hair every morning. I want your happiness more than you know. She turned away without responding. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. I walked Jessica down the aisle, each step measured, her hand light on my arm. Trevor waited at the altar, smile wide and triumphant. Not loving. Victorious. I gave her away and took my seat in the front row. Vows were spoken. Standard phrases about love and commitment that meant nothing when one party viewed the other as a financial instrument. Trevor's voice was smooth, practiced, the same tone he probably used closing deals that never materialized. I now pronounce you husband and wife. The room applauded. I clapped along, playing my part. Reception began at 5. Cocktails flowed. Trevor positioned himself near the bar, working his way through whiskey at a pace that told stories. By 6:30, his tie was loosened, voice louder, gestures broader. Not bad for a mechanic's budget, right? He addressed his friends, but spoke loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Jessica kept it reasonable. Smart girl. One friend smirked. Could have been bigger. Give it time. Trevor swirled his drink, ice clinking. Once we're settled, old Dad might find some tools to sell. Classic cars bring decent money, I hear. I was across the room, but heard every word, catalogued every insult for the inventory I was building. After the cake cutting, after the first dance, I approached with an envelope. Wedding gift, check for $5,000, modest but appropriate for my supposed income. Trevor intercepted me before I reached Jessica, physically blocked my path, whiskey on his breath, eyes slightly unfocused. Congratulations to you both, I said, extending the envelope. I hope this helps with... Helps with what? He cut me off, words slurring just enough to notice. You've done enough. Actually, you've done nothing. Trevor, not now. Not now? His voice rose. People nearby stopped talking, turned to watch. When, then? You've been judging me since we met. Bitter old man who can't stand seeing his daughter with someone successful. Jessica materialized at his elbow. Trevor, people are watching. Let them watch. He gestured wildly, nearly hitting a passing server. They should see what I've dealt with. This disgusting old man trying to ruin our happiness. The room went quiet. 120 witnesses holding their breath. I think you've had enough to drink, I said evenly. I've had enough of you. He shoved my shoulder, hard. The envelope fell from my hand. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone's champagne flute wobbled on a nearby table. You should have stayed home. Trevor's face was red now, spit flying. Better yet, you shouldn't have come at all. This is our day, not yours. A guest stepped forward. Hey man, that's his daughter. His daughter is mine now. Trevor jabbed a finger at my chest. He needs to accept his place. Back row. Quiet. Irrelevant. I looked at Jessica. She stood 3 feet away, eyes locked on the floor, saying absolutely nothing. I love you, I told her quietly. Remember that. Then I turned and walked toward the exit. Measured steps. Dignified pace. Giving Trevor nothing more to feed on. My phone rang halfway across the room. Mark Sullivan, according to the screen. Trevor's business partner. We'd never spoken. I answered while walking. Yes? Mr. Harris? His voice was rushed, panicked. Robert Harris of Harris Motors? Yes, who is this? Mark Sullivan, I work with Trevor. I just saw your photo in Southwest Business Journal. You're the owner of 5 luxury dealerships. Yes. Silence. Then, does Trevor know? Not yet. I glanced back. Mark was pushing through the crowd toward Trevor. But you're about to tell him, aren't you? He just assaulted you, in public. He doesn't know who you are. No, I agreed. He doesn't. But in about 30 seconds, he will. I stopped at the venue doors, turned to watch across the room. Mark reached Trevor, leaned close, whispered urgently. Trevor's smile faded like paint and acid. His hand gripped Mark's arm hard enough that Mark winced. Mark showed him his phone, Business Journal article with my photo. Trevor's face went white, not pale, white, color draining in real time. His eyes found mine across 100 feet of wedding venue. We stared at each other. Trevor's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I nodded once, slow, deliberate, then turned and pushed through the doors into cool evening air. Behind me, Trevor's voice, no longer arrogant, sharp, panicked, calling my name. I didn't turn back. 5 months of planning, 5 months of playing the humble fool, 5 months of watching him chase what he thought was poverty with a small inheritance someday. Now he knew. The disgusting old man he'd shoved in front of 100 witnesses owned a business empire worth $43 million. The irrelevant father-in-law he'd humiliated could destroy his career with 3 phone calls. And the daughter he'd married? Her trust fund alone held more than he'd earn in 20 years. Trevor had called me disgusting, old, irrelevant. He'd pushed me, in public, at his own wedding, with witnesses. Justice isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be inevitable. I made it to my car before Trevor caught up. His footsteps on the pavement behind me, running, stumbling slightly. The alcohol still in his system, but panic had burned through most of the fog. Mr. Harris, Robert, wait, please. I didn't run, didn't hurry, just walked with measured steps toward my sedan, keys already in hand. Let him chase, let him sweat. He caught up as I reached the driver's door, breathing hard. Inside the venue, the music had stopped. Guests clustered in the doorway, watching. Jessica stood among them, frozen, not following. Mr. Harris, Trevor's voice cracked. I didn't know. I was drunk. You called me disgusting. I turned slowly, faced him with the same calm I'd use evaluating a bad deal. Old, irrelevant. That's not... I was stressed. The wedding, too much champagne. You understand. I unlocked the car. You were honest. Alcohol doesn't create feelings. It reveals them. No, that's not true. I respect you. I always have. The words tumbled out, desperate and rehearsed simultaneously. It was just, you shoved me. I met his eyes. In front of 100 people. At my daughter's wedding. His hand moved toward my arm. I looked at it. He pulled back like he'd touched fire. I'll apologize publicly, he said. I'll make it right. Just let me... Now you know who I am. I opened the car door, but it's already too late. What does that mean? I got in, started the engine, watched him through the window, his face pale in the parking lot lights, sweat on his forehead despite the cool evening air. You'll find out, I said, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, Trevor stood alone in the empty lot, his wedding reception dying behind him, his triumph turned to ash in one phone call. The next morning, they came to my real home. I waited in my study, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking North Phoenix, city spreading toward distant mountains. The house Margaret and I had built 15 years ago, after the 4th dealership opened. 8,000 square feet of proof that mechanics could become something more. The security intercom buzzed at 10:15. Mr. Harris? There's a Jessica Parker and Trevor Parker at the gate. Parker, she'd taken his name. That hurt in unexpected ways. Let them in. I watched from the window. Their car, Jessica's practical Honda, crept up the circular drive like it had entered the wrong address. She got out first, stared up at the house with her mouth open, counted windows, noticed the fountain, the landscaping, the 3-car garage with doors that cost more than Trevor's yearly income. Trevor exited more slowly, adjusting his jacket, trying for confidence, overcompensating. I opened the door before they knocked. Come in. Jessica walked past me without speaking, eyes scanning the marble foyer, the curved staircase, the chandelier Margaret had picked out in Italy. She touched the banister like checking if it was real. This is your house? Her voice shook. This whole time? One of my properties. Yes. You lied to us. To me. I led them to the study. I revealed nothing. You assumed. Trevor assumed. I let you. Trevor followed, that forced calm wrapped around him like armor. Look, about last night, I was out of line. Wedding nerves, too much to drink. These things happen. I gestured to the leather chairs. They sat. I remained standing. You thought you were marrying into poverty, I said, watching Trevor's face. A mechanic's daughter with maybe a small inheritance someday. No, I love Jessica for... Don't. I opened my desk drawer, removed a folder. Didn't show it to them, just let them see it existed. I have text messages. Golden ticket. Milk the old man. Your words to Mark Sullivan. You want to lie? Do it somewhere else. Jessica's hand covered her mouth. You investigated him? Spied on him? I protected you. You didn't want protection. Trevor leaned forward, hands clasped. We don't need your money anyway. Jessica and I will build our own life. She has her career. I have mine. Good, because you won't see a cent from me. Silence filled the room like floodwater. What about my trust fund? Jessica's voice was small. Mom's inheritance? Restructured. You'll receive it when you turn 40, or when you divorce, or when you demonstrate financial responsibility, whichever comes first. Trevor's mask slipped, just for a second, but I caught it. You can't do that. It's her money. My money. My wife's money. Put in trust for our daughter, with conditions I'm legally entitled to set. You're punishing me for falling in love. Jessica stood, chair scraping. For choosing my own life. I'm protecting you from making a permanent mistake with a temporary man. Temporary? Trevor rose too, anger breaking through. We're married. For now? I picked up an envelope from my desk. Wedding gift, prepared days ago. Handed it to Jessica. She opened it with shaking hands. Pulled out the card. Read it. Then the gift certificate. $500? She looked up, eyes wet. You're worth millions, and you give us this? I gave you a $35,000 wedding. I've given you 32 years of love and support. I gave Trevor the chance to prove himself. I met his eyes. He proved exactly what I feared. You're cruel. Jessica's voice cracked. Mom would be ashamed of you. That one landed. Hard. But I kept my face steady. Your mother would have seen through him before I did. She had better instincts. They left, 10 minutes later. Jessica crying. Trevor's jaw so tight I could see the muscle jumping. His hand shook when he took the gift certificate, held it like it might burn him, but took it anyway. After the door closed, I stood in my study and thought about the beginning. 30 years ago, Margaret and I had nothing but a failing dealership, bought with borrowed money. Spent 18-hour days rebuilding it from the ground up. Banks said we'd fail. Family said we were foolish. Friends said cut our losses. We proved them wrong through work, through integrity, through refusing shortcuts, even when shortcuts would have been easier. My wife taught me 2 things, how to read a balance sheet and how to read people. Numbers could lie if you wanted them to. People couldn't, not if you paid attention. Trevor had showed me who he was at that first dinner. The investigation confirmed it. The wedding crystallized it, and my daughter had chosen him anyway. I'd built an empire from nothing once. Built it with honest work and careful planning. Now I'd use those same skills differently. Not to build, to dismantle. Not creation, justice. 3 days after the mansion confrontation, I made an appointment with Diana Mitchell. Her law office occupied the 20th floor of a downtown high-rise. Estate planning and asset protection her specialties. I needed both. The elevator opened onto brushed steel and polished glass. A receptionist smiled professionally, led me to a corner conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Phoenix spreading below like a circuit board. Diana Mitchell entered precisely on time. 61, sharp gray hair cut at her jawline, intelligent eyes that assessed quickly. We shook hands, her grip firm, confident. Mr. Harris, I've heard good things about your dealerships. Thank you for seeing me on short notice. Estate emergencies usually are. She set a leather portfolio on the table. What's the situation? I spread my documents across the polished surface. Clark's investigation file, wedding venue contract, list of witnesses, timeline of events. Walk me through everything, Diana said, pen ready. Start with when you first met Trevor Parker. January. Jessica brought him to dinner. He thought I was a retired mechanic. You let him think that. I let him reveal himself. He did. Diana picked up the investigation file, scanned the financial summary. 47,000 in debt. Income 12,000, spending over 60. Text messages calling your daughter his golden ticket. That's what I'm protecting her from. And he assaulted you at the wedding. Witnesses? Over 100. He shoved me. Called me disgusting, old, irrelevant. Diana's pen paused. In front of your daughter. She said nothing. A quiet moment passed. Diana looked up. That's the part that hurts most, isn't it? Direct hit, but I kept my voice steady. I'm not here for therapy. I'm here for strategy. Fair enough. She flipped to a fresh page. Here's what we do first. Your trust structure needs hardening. Conditions that protect both assets and your daughter. Then your will. Specific exclusions. Ironclad language. Finally, documentation of everything Trevor's done. We build a legal fortress. What about offense? Diana's eyebrow raised slightly. Offense? I want more than protection. I want consequences. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Let me draft some options. 2 weeks passed. Documents signed, trust restructured, will updated. Diana worked with precision I recognized. The same methodical approach Margaret had used building our business. On a Tuesday, my phone rang during lunch with a business associate. Tom Henderson owned 3 furniture stores. Good man. Heard something odd yesterday, Tom said between bites. Guy named Trevor Parker applying for a big loan. Mentioned he's your son-in-law. I set down my fork carefully. He is, unfortunately. He implied you might back the loan. Investment project or something. 180,000. Did he? Tom caught my tone. Thought you should know. Seems sketchy. Which bank? First Phoenix, I think. Downtown branch. I made 3 calls that afternoon. Second one confirmed it. Trevor had applied for $180,000. Listed his occupation as financial consultant with family backing. Included my name as a reference without asking permission. Fraudulent misrepresentation. Diana would love this. I called Carl Foster directly. Bank vice president. Someone I'd worked with for 15 years. He took my call immediately. Robert, good to see your name on my calendar. What can I do for you? His office was oak and leather, photos of grandchildren on the credenza. We'd closed deals here before. I understand someone is applying for a loan using my name as an implied guarantee. Carl's expression shifted. Who? Trevor Parker, my son-in-law, as of 3 weeks ago. Just a moment, he typed quickly, eyes scanning. Yes, application for $180,000. Investment project. He mentioned family support. I want to be absolutely clear. I leaned forward. I do not guarantee this loan. I have not authorized use of my name. I will not provide any financial backing for Trevor Parker. Ever. Carl nodded slowly. Understood. We'll note that in the file. I'd like that in writing. Copy to me, copy to his file, copy to your legal department. Of course. He typed more notes. This is fraud, Robert. Misrepresentation. Yes, it is. The loan denial took 48 hours. Trevor's phone call came at 7 p.m. I was in my study, reviewing quarterly reports. Saw his name on the screen. I pressed record before answering. Put it on speaker. Hello, Trevor. What did you do? His voice cracked with fury. I'd like to record this conversation for legal purposes. I don't care about your recording. The bank denied my loan because you fraudulently used my name. I mentioned we're family. That's not fraud. You implied I would guarantee a loan I knew nothing about. That's exactly fraud. You're sabotaging my life. Something crashed in the background. My career. My marriage. I'm protecting my assets and my reputation. Your problems are your own creation. You think you can destroy me? His breathing was ragged. I'll fight back. I'll make your life miserable. I'll turn Jessica against you completely. You already have. But thank you for the threats. They're now documented. You're going to regret this, old man. I promise you that. Trevor, you assaulted me at your wedding. You've committed loan fraud. You're threatening me on a recorded line. I kept my voice level, conversational. The only person with regrets here is you. Click. He hung up. I saved the recording with 2 clicks, backed it up to cloud storage, sent a copy to Diana Mitchell with a brief note. More ammunition. Trevor had made 3 critical mistakes in one phone call, admitted knowing about the loan denial, confirmed he'd used my name without permission, threatened retaliation on a recorded line. My wife used to say, never interrupt an enemy when they're making mistakes. I'd given Trevor enough rope. He'd tied the noose himself. Diana had set up the legal framework. Trusts, wills, documentation. That was defense. Protection against Trevor getting what he wanted. But I wanted more than protection. I wanted consequences. Trevor had called my life's work grease under fingernails, had shoved me at my daughter's wedding, had married Jessica for money he'd never see, had threatened me when his schemes fell apart. He thought this was the end. Thought a denied loan was the worst I could do. He had no idea this was only the beginning. The phone recording sat on my computer. Diana's trust document sat in my safe. Clark's investigation file sat in my desk. All tools, all weapons, all perfectly legal. Trevor wanted to fight? Fine. But he'd learned quickly. You don't fight someone who built an empire. You lose to them. Slowly, methodically, completely. Trevor's retaliation came faster than I expected. Within a week of the denied loan, I started hearing whispers. Colleagues asking careful questions. Business partners suddenly hesitant. Someone was spreading poison, and I knew exactly who. My sales manager knocked on my office door mid-morning. Greg had been with me 15 years, steady and honest. We need to talk about the Scottsdale location. He placed a report on my desk. 3 cancellations this week. 2 more customers asking questions. I scanned the numbers. 15% drop in 7 days. What kind of questions? Greg shifted his weight. About your stability, your judgment, whether the business is solid long term. Someone's been talking. Yeah, someone has. After Greg left, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from business associates. 2 voicemails using words like concerned and checking in. 1 text, are you okay? People are saying things. I sat in my office as afternoon light slanted through the windows. Didn't turn on the lamps as shadows lengthened. Just sat there, watching the sun set on my reputation. The phone rang again. Another partner, this one more direct. Robert, I need to ask something delicate. Are you doing okay, health-wise, mentally? I kept my voice level. I'm fine. Why? I've heard things about your son-in-law, that you've been difficult, aggressive. Some people are concerned. Some people are being lied to. So there's no truth to it. The harassment, the threats. My jaw tightened. He assaulted me at his own wedding, committed loan fraud using my name, married my daughter for money. Those are facts. Everything else is his invention. Silence. Then, I didn't know. No one does. He's good at stories. I'm good at evidence. After he hung up, I opened my email. One from Jessica's account, sent to my extended family. Subject, the truth about my father. I read it once, her words calling me controlling, vindictive, unable to accept her happiness. Trevor painted as victim of my jealous rage. My investigation described as stalking. The loan denial as sabotage. Just enough truth twisted into perfect lies. I closed the laptop slowly. Sat in complete darkness now, city lights glowing through the windows. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe I was the problem. My phone lit up. Diana Mitchell. I almost didn't answer. Finally pressed. Accept. Robert? You sound wrong. I'm fine. No, you're not. What happened? I told her. All of it. The rumors, the sales drop, the questions, Jessica's email. Dinner, Diana said. Tonight? 6 o'clock. Antonio's on Camelback. Not for the case. For you. Diana, I don't think... 6 o'clock. Be there. Antonio's wasn't a business restaurant. Small, intimate, tables with real candles. Diana had chosen a corner booth, already seated when I arrived. She stood, kissed my cheek. That surprised me. Thanks for coming. We ordered wine. I didn't look at the menu. Tell me what's happening, she said. He's fighting back, spreading rumors, calling me unstable. Some of it's working. Sales down? 15% at one location. Customers asking questions. Partners worried I'm losing it. Are you? Long pause. Wine arrived. I stared into it like it held answers. I don't know anymore. Jessica believes him. Half the city believes him. Maybe I am the problem. Diana reached across the table, placed her hand on mine. Warm, steady. No, you're the target. There's a difference. How do you know? She pulled her hand back, wrapped it around her wine glass instead. Because I was you. 20 years ago. Different circumstances, same feeling. What happened? I trusted someone I shouldn't have. Her voice went quiet. Business partner. More than that. He took both. Emptied accounts. Destroyed my reputation. Made me look like the unstable one when I fought back. How did you survive it? I stopped caring what people thought and started caring what I could prove. Took 3 years, but I rebuilt. Law degree, new career, new life. She met my eyes. Alone, but stronger. Alone sounds exhausting. She put her hand back on mine. Deliberate. It was. It is. That's why I'm telling you. You're not alone. And you're right about Trevor. Don't let doubt make you forget that. We talked for 3 hours. Forgot about dinner. Coffee went cold. Other diners came and left. We stayed. He's winning, Diana. The loan failed, but now he's hurting my business, my reputation, my relationship with Jessica. He's not winning. He's panicking. People don't launch smear campaigns from positions of strength. Feels like strength when it's working. It's desperation, and desperation makes people sloppy. We use that. How? Diana leaned forward. Tax fraud. Undeclared income. Misuse of corporate funds. Trevor's desperate enough he's probably committed all three. We document everything and hand it to the IRS. Let the government do our work. That's aggressive. He assaulted you. Defrauded a bank. Slandered you to your clients. Turned your daughter against you. Her eyes held steady on mine. How much more aggressive should he get before you match it? When did this become we? She smiled. Small. Genuine. About 20 minutes ago. When I decided I wasn't letting you face this alone. I walked her to her car afterward. Phoenix night air. Cool and clean. Or maybe I just felt different. For weeks I'd been fighting alone. Doubting alone. When everyone whispers that you're wrong, eventually you start believing them. But Diana had looked at me across that table and seen something else. Not vindictive. Not unstable. Someone fighting for what was right. Her hand on mine had felt like more than comfort. Like recognition. Like partnership. I'd built my first business with a partner I loved. Lost her. Thought that part of my life was finished. Diana's touch suggested otherwise. Trevor wanted to hurt my business? I'd built it once. I could protect it now. He wanted to ruin my reputation? I had decades of honest dealing. He had weeks of marriage and mountains of debt. He wanted Jessica to hate me. That hurt. Would always hurt. But I couldn't control her choices. Only my own. And I chose to keep fighting. Not alone anymore. Diana had said Trevor was panicking. Sloppy. Making mistakes. Time to document every one of those mistakes. Time to let the professionals handle what I couldn't. Time to hit back harder. Diana and I met 3 times over the next week. Officially to build the case. Unofficially because we both found reasons to extend the meetings. Her office. My dealership. Coffee shops where we spread documents across small tables and leaned close to examine details. Tax evasion requires proving intentional concealment, Diana explained, highlighting sections of code. Undeclared cash income qualifies if we can document it. How do we prove cash payments? Someone paid him. Someone knows. Start asking. Discreetly. Always discreetly. Her shoulder brushed mine as she reached for another file. We're gathering information for potential future legal purposes. You're good at this. I had good teachers. Life. Betrayal. The IRS. I started making calls. Casual conversations with people Trevor had consulted for. Most were happy to talk about their smart decision to pay cash. Save them from reporting it. Save Trevor from claiming it. By week's end, I had 6 names. $18,000 in undeclared income just from those 6. One client from last year paid Trevor $5,000 for retirement planning advice. I told Diana over coffee. Never reported. Client mentioned it proudly. One instance isn't enough. We need pattern. I've got 6 more names to call. Diana studied me across the table. Robert, you're enjoying this. Maybe I am. Is that wrong? Depends. Why are you enjoying it? Because he's going to face consequences. Because justice is actually possible. Because you're not alone anymore? I met her eyes. Yeah, that too. She smiled. Reached across, squeezed my hand briefly before pulling back. Trevor's social media gave us the rest. Posts showing designer watches, luxury dinners, weekend trips. Each one dated, time-stamped. We cross-referenced with his company calendar. No business events matched the dates. Personal expenses on corporate cards. My accountant, Richard Watson, packaged everything anonymously. Mailed it from Tucson to cover tracks. Then we waited. 4 weeks felt like 4 years, but we filled them. Diana suggested a concert. When did you last do something just for yourself? Not work? Not revenge? Just living? 8 years ago, before my wife passed. That's too long. We sat on lawn chairs under Phoenix stars, sharing wine, listening to music I didn't really hear. Her head found my shoulder during the second set. Felt natural. Right. You don't have to be lonely, she said quietly. Diana, I know we're supposed to keep this professional, but I stopped wanting to 3 meetings ago. When did 3 meetings ago become the line? She laughed. I don't know. But here we are. The following weekend we went to a gallery. Abstract paintings, colors bleeding into each other. Diana stopped in front of one, reds and golds swirling into darkness. Chaos becoming order, she said, or order becoming chaos. Can't tell which. I looked at her instead of the painting. She turned, caught me staring, and kissed me. Soft, unexpected. Perfect. I didn't expect that, I managed when she pulled back. Should I not have? I pulled her back. I didn't say I didn't want it. Good, she smiled against my mouth. Because I've been thinking about it for 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks? Maybe 3. I lost count after the restaurant. The one where you held my hand. That's when you knew? That's when I hoped. Early July, the call came. Not to me, to Trevor. But word spread fast in small business circles. IRS audit. Full review. Attorney required. Trevor hired Marcus Chen, tax specialist. $15,000 retainer, plus hourly fees. Money Trevor didn't have. Forced to take a high-interest personal loan at 18%, just to cover the attorney. Financial stress piled on financial stress. Late July, my phone rang past 10 p.m. Jessica's number. Dad, her voice broke. I shouldn't call. You can always call. What happened? Sobbing. Trevor and I had a fight. About money. He yelled, really yelled, scared me. Everything in me went cold and alert. Are you safe right now? I'm in the bathroom. He's in the bedroom. He's just stressed. The IRS thing and work and the IRS thing. Some audit. He has to hire a lawyer. We don't have the money. I offered to ask you and he lost it. Do you need somewhere to stay tonight? I can't leave. He's my husband. You can leave if you're scared. Marriage doesn't mean accepting fear. She cried harder. I don't know what to do. I'm here. Whatever you need. No judgment. No, I told you so. Just support. Long pause. Just breathing and crying. You were right, weren't you? About everything. That doesn't matter now. What matters is you're safe. I need to go. He's calling for me. Call me any time. Day or night. I mean that. She hung up. I sat in darkness again. But this darkness felt different. Had Diana's kiss in it. Had possibility. My daughter was suffering. That hurt. Would always hurt. But she'd called me. First crack in the wall Trevor had built between us. The IRS audit wasn't my doing, officially. Richard had submitted anonymously. No trail. But Trevor's panic was exactly what Diana predicted. Cornered animals bite, but they also bleed. $28,000 in undeclared income. Corporate card misuse. Pattern of financial deception. The government doesn't like being cheated. They had resources I didn't. Patience I didn't. Authority I didn't. I'd handed them a gift-wrapped case. They'd unwrap it slowly, methodically, with all the weight of federal law. Trevor thought he was fighting me. He had no idea he was about to fight the United States Treasury. And me? I was discovering I could fight and live at the same time. Could pursue justice and feel joy. Could protect my daughter and fall for someone new. Diana's kiss had tasted like wine and art and second chances. Trevor's audit had tasted like justice. Both tasted good. The IRS worked faster than I expected. 3 weeks after Trevor received his audit notice, the results came through. Diana called me with the news before Trevor even knew. Her contacts in the legal community moved information quickly. She arrived at my dealership office mid-afternoon, Arizona heat shimmering off the parking lot outside. It's official. She spread the documents across my desk. 18,000 penalty, 11,000 back taxes, due in 30 days. I traced the numbers with one finger. Can he pay it? Not a chance. He's already 47,000 in debt. This finishes him. Jessica will suffer too. Diana met my eyes. Jessica is already suffering. This might be what saves her. You sound certain. I've seen this pattern. Financial collapse strips away the mask. She'll see him clearly now. She was right. Within a week, Trevor's credit score plummeted. The bank sent debt collection notices on his existing cards. His small financial firm terminated his employment. Couldn't have an employee with tax problems. Bad for client confidence. His world collapsed in days, not weeks. 10 days after the IRS notification, my security system buzzed. Trevor's BMW, unwashed, now showing wear, sat at my mansion gate. I watched the camera feed. His face looked hollow, desperate. I almost didn't open the gate. Almost. But I wanted to see this. Needed to see this. He was waiting at my door when I opened it. Didn't try to come inside. Smart enough to know he wasn't invited. Robert, please. Breathless, like he'd been running. I need help. The IRS, the penalties, I can't. No. Just hear me out. I can pay you back. Once I get another job, once things stabilize. You called me disgusting. At your own wedding, you shoved me in front of 100 people. I was drunk. I apologized. I kept my voice level. You used my daughter like a bank account. Called her your golden ticket. Planned to milk the old man. Your words. In writing. That was just talk. Guy talk. I love Jessica. You love her money, which she doesn't have access to anymore. Which means you love nothing. His hands reached toward me, pleading. I stepped back, maintaining distance. If you don't help, we'll lose everything. The apartment, the car, everything. You never had anything. You had debt and delusion. Now you just have debt. His face shifted. Desperation to rage in seconds. Fine, fine. I'll tell Jessica this is your fault, that you destroyed us deliberately. Go ahead. See if she believes you. See if she hasn't already noticed how you treat her when the money runs out. What do you want from me? An apology? Groveling? I'll do whatever you... I want you to experience consequences for the first time in your life. I started closing the door. Now get off my property. I watched through the window as he stood there for a full minute, then climbed back into his car, drove away, poured whiskey I didn't drink, just held the glass, feeling its weight. 2 days later, Jessica came. I opened the door before she could knock. Dad, Can I come in? I opened my arms. Always. She fell into them crying. I held her on my doorstep, let her sob into my shoulder until she ran out of tears. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd imagined this conversation a dozen different ways. You were right. Her voice was small. About everything. About him. That doesn't matter now. It matters to me. I called you cruel, called you a tyrant, defended him while he showed you who he really was. That's not your fault. I should have listened. At the first dinner, at the wedding, when you showed me the evidence, I covered her hand with mine. Love makes us blind. It's not weakness. It's human. He's broke, Dad, completely broke. And when the money disappeared, so did everything else. The kindness, the patience, even the pretense of love. I'm sorry you had to learn that way. She looked up. Are you? Sorry? Or satisfied? I chose careful truth. Both. Sorry you hurt. Satisfied you're safe now. I want a divorce. Diana said she'd handle it. Whatever you need, I'm here. I know. Fresh tears. I always knew. I just forgot for a while. The divorce moved quickly. 5-month marriage. No children, no shared assets. Jessica wanted out. Trevor couldn't afford to fight. He tried anyway. Filed for spousal support. Claimed financial dependence. The judge barely looked up from the paperwork. Marriage duration 5 months. No children. No significant shared assets acquired during marriage. No evidence of financial dependence established prior to marriage. Spousal support request denied. Divorce granted. Next case. Trevor's face went blank, like someone had unplugged him. Jessica didn't look at him, just stood, accepted the papers. walked out with my hand on her shoulder. We descended the courthouse steps in silence. Late August sun beating down. Phoenix heat that made everything shimmer and waver. Trevor stayed inside, probably still sitting there, processing the judge's words. Denied, denied, denied. I'd won. Completely. Trevor had lost his money, his job, his wife, his dignity. Everything he'd reached for had slipped through his fingers. But standing there with my daughter's hand in mine, victory felt less like triumph and more like relief, like watching a fever break, like danger passing. Jessica was free. That mattered more than Trevor's suffering. The revenge had worked exactly as planned. Loan denied, IRS penalties, job loss, divorce, each domino falling in sequence. Clean, legal, irreversible. But what mattered wasn't the falling. It was what remained standing. My daughter, my integrity, my business, my new relationship with Diana. Trevor had called me disgusting, old, irrelevant. Now he was broke, unemployed, divorced, and I was whole. Finally, whole again. 3 weeks after the divorce, Jessica moved into a temporary apartment downtown. Needed space from everything. Trevor, the memories, even me for a bit. I understood. Diana suggested I give her room to heal on her own terms. So I waited. Not easy, but necessary. Trevor's aftermath reached me through business channels. Studio apartment in a rough neighborhood. Office manager position at a commercial real estate firm. $45,000 a year. Public transportation instead of the BMW. His ambitions shattered against reality. Ordinary life waiting for him. The very thing he'd tried so hard to escape. Jessica started therapy. Weekly sessions, processing manipulation, and her own choices. We began having dinners. Careful at first, then easier. Last week she'd laughed at one of my stories. Real laughter, not the forced kind. Diana and I planned a weekend in Sedona. Red rocks and cool evenings. Transition from crisis partners to something more permanent. The drive north took 2 hours. Diana's hand found mine on the console between us. You're different, she said. Lighter. I feel finished, not with life, with the fight. Good finished or empty finished? Good, Jessica's safe. Trevor's facing reality. My business recovered. And you're here. She smiled. So you needed an arrogant son-in-law to find me? I laughed. First real laugh in months. Expensive matchmaking service. Worth it? Every penny I didn't give Trevor? We hiked red rock trails, pausing at viewpoints where the world spread below in layers of stone and sky. That evening on our resort balcony, wine glasses catching sunset light, she told me Jessica had asked her to be the trustee. For her inheritance, she asked before I could. I was going to ask you, I said. She beat me to it. That's a big responsibility. Decades, potentially. You'll be in my life that long anyway. Might as well make it official. Diana paused. That sounded almost like a proposal. It wasn't. But it wasn't not that either. Smooth, Robert. Real smooth. I turned serious. I'm saying I see a future with you, however long that is. Trust management included. I see it too. She squeezed my hand. And I accept. The trust responsibility, and whatever comes with it. Back in Phoenix, I stayed late at the dealership. The building emptied around 7. Security lights casting long shadows across rows of vehicles outside my window. Each one represented someone's dream, someone's hard work, someone's investment. 30 years ago, I'd had one failing dealership and a wife who believed we'd succeed. We built this together. 5 locations, 100+ employees, $43 million in assets. She didn't live to see it finished, but she'd be proud of what came after. Not just the business, what I'd done to protect Jessica, the investigation, the strategy, the patience. Every move calculated, legal, irreversible. Trevor thought he'd married into easy money. Instead, he married into consequences. Lost everything he'd grabbed for. Jessica was learning. That was worth everything. Weekly dinners where she talked about therapy, about recognizing manipulation patterns, about building herself back stronger. Diana was teaching me something too, that you could rebuild after loss, that justice could coexist with joy, that protecting your family didn't mean abandoning your own life. I opened my safe. The new trust document sat inside, Diana's signature next to mine. Jessica would inherit everything, eventually, when she was ready, age 40, or after proving financial responsibility, or after a successful marriage, whichever came first. Diana would make sure the money helped rather than hurt, would make sure no other Trevor could access what Jessica's mother and I built. On my desk sat a photo of Jessica at 7, gap-toothed smile, pigtails, holding a toy car I'd given her for her birthday. Before loss, before Trevor, before any of this, I picked it up, studied her young face, then set it down gently and turned to the window. The dealership lot stretched below, luxury vehicles gleaming under lights, empire built on honest work and careful choices. Trevor had called me disgusting, old, irrelevant. He was working office jobs for $45,000 a year, taking the bus, living in a studio. I was standing in something I'd built from nothing, with a daughter who'd come home, and a woman who understood what building meant. I closed the safe, turned off my office light, walked out into the warm Phoenix night. Justice isn't revenge. Revenge is hot, angry, destructive to everyone, including yourself. Justice is cold, patient, precise. It doesn't destroy, it restores balance. Trevor got what he earned. Nothing. Jessica got what she deserved. Protection. I got what I needed. Peace. The balance was restored. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.